So I'm going to ask each of you to think back to those long car rides and cries of, are we there yet? The answer was almost always, not yet. Why should our experience as teachers be any different? We're on a journey. We might not be there when our client gets to the end of their journey, but we can offer refueling, change of tires, and even, in this case, a luggage rack for grandma. I could sit here all day and talk about the failures of lessons I've taught and the lessons that I've learned from those failures, but I'm not going to do that. Some of what I do today might not work. I was put into this role about 48 hours ago, so give me a break. If things do work, I take all that credit. Cool. So, as a lawyer's son, I was raised to question almost everything. So naturally, when I got my copy of A Growth Mindset Coach, I wondered, is this the right book? Is there something better? In fact, Eleanor and I ordered 3 different books to try to figure it out, and the department chair group did as well. I even questioned the title of this chapter. I wondered, isn't every profession just a practice? Isn't a doctor a practicing professional, a lawyer a practicing professional? Aren't teachers really just another practicing profession? Rather than get sidetracked, because I could go down that rabbit hole, I'm going to go elsewhere. From an early age, the concept of a growth mindset was planted in me, but I didn't really realize it. As I was preparing to deliver this talk, I've been reflective about my own educational experience. In 3rd grade, I had a mummy paper, right? Research paper. It's the old school research paper. It's the kind of research paper that Donnie Sheep would be excited about. All print materials, almanacs, National Geographic magazines. Miss Hutchinson would appreciate the note card scheme to keep track of like source 3-1, 3-2s, right? The drafts were all typed on the 2GS at the house. And my editor at the time was my dad. And we sat at the kitchen table. And for the remainder of my high school, elementary, college, this talk, the editor has been there as somebody who's encouraging. When I sat with my dad and he edited the work, it was always line by line, sentence by sentence, word by word. I don't know grammar rules. I didn't pay attention to them in English class. But I know what sounds right because I sat at a kitchen table and literally read sometimes the same draft 10 times, sometimes at 2 in the morning. And it was never good enough. It was always, could it be better? How can we make this better? And at the end, my dad never said it's done. That was never a phrase. He said, do you think you did good work? And I always would say, yeah, I think this is good. I think I did well. He said, could you do better? And I would always say, yeah, but I don't want to. So, life is a big rehearsal. And at the same time, it's a continuous live show. Many of you know that I follow Fish, live band. When they play a show, people literally hang on to every note they play. The blogs light up when they play a great show, but they get even more intense when they have a bad show. When an attorney makes a mistake, it might cost the client the most extreme of, like, their life in prison, money, whatever. A doctor can lose their license over a single mistake. As a new parent, I gotta tell you, I make some mistakes. So, we started doing bottles at night, and there's a thermos. This thermos, I use it to drink tea out of during the day, and I filled it with hot water at night so that I can make a bottle, because it takes a long time to get the water hot. So I filled it, and I made a bottle. And I woke up in the morning, and I dumped out the bottle in the sink. And Eleanor goes, there was a tea bag in there. And I said, there's a tea bag in there. So Irving had a green tea bottle at 3 in the morning. Eleanor could have looked at me and she could have said, what are you doing? You're going to kill our kid. She didn't do that. She looked at me and kind of had this, like, shit happens. We make mistakes, and that's okay. Teaching Teaching is a different profession than being a corporate lawyer or a doctor. How much face time does a doctor actually have with a patient? How much time does a lawyer have with a client? And don't forget, in each of those circumstances, the client is paying for that time. Our experience is different. Our mistakes have big consequences. We just don't always see them. The beauty is the amount of time that we get to practice with our students. Unlike others, we get a year, a chance for relationships, and therefore more of a chance to grow. And we get to change our practice with our students as we learn from them and they learn from us. In addition, we have each other. Whether it's a text message chain that highlights the essence of Greek gods during a PD that seems to be dragging, or it's a more serious one about jazzing curriculum at 3 a.m. in the morning and getting punched because your phone is vibrating during sleeping hours. So in my teaching career, I've had the opportunity to teach some of the highest level classes in the school. AP US History and IB History Year 2. People always say, oh, that's awesome, those are the best kids, they're the easiest to work with. I think that that statement is a mistake. I think in reality, all of our kids are the best kids. But again, that might not be the focus of this day. It's a part of it, but not the focus. Teaching APUSH was a huge challenge. There were many times in the 8 years I taught it that I thought, and would very verbally tell Miss Sarah, they can't do this. They're not going to do it. They're not going to be successful. And I would say that out loud. But the actions that I took in the room didn't necessarily reflect what I was saying. Unlike other courses, at the end of the year, AP scores are published. And at the end of the year, you've got a score in front of you. And it says very clearly whether you were successful or not. And that's a hard thing to take as a teacher. Sure, we have reach exams that are externally assessed. Well, we assess them internally, but they're created externally. But they have the wrong rubric. They're stapled wrong. Question order is a mess. It's not like an audited exam by College Board. So APUSH was this long car ride. And we never got there. For example, the students were asked to read this incredibly challenging textbook. And when I started, I was like, just read it. I don't understand, why can't you just read it? And as I taught, that's when I had to realize, okay, we have to change this. So I started with the Harvard outline, and then the Cornell notes, and then the created outline templates. And I've passed that baton to Mr. Fingato and Mr. Bateman, and hopefully they're working towards that journey as well. But I'm sure if you ask them, is that journey, have they reached the point? They would say, not yet. In addition, I've also taught the IB history course, year 2, for the last 9 years. Similar to APUSH, there's a test at the end. And similar to APUSH, the scores are this smack in the face. Your kids either got it or they didn't. And they're published. The IB scores are published all over the city, and they're shared. And it's a feeling of sinking. It can be the ultimate sort of dragging down. So the students in this class, there are top performing kids, right? Everyone talks so highly about the DP seniors. They're just kids. They need the time to hear from us that we need to hear from each other. So over the last couple of years, I realized they were stuck and they weren't moving forward. And so I really like this movie, You, Me, and Dupree. It's ridiculous. If you haven't seen it, Owen Wilson lives on somebody's couch. It's outrageous. But he's got this line in it, and he talks about nests. And like, everyone has a nest. What is nest? What's your name with the word nest at the end? But essentially, it's you. It's your essence. It's your Julius nest. It's your Medellin nest, right? It's who you are. So I started saying to the kids, show me your Josenas. Show me that you have it. And that would happen on quiz days, that would happen on test days, it would happen in the middle of class. But the other thing that I started to do, and I had no idea that last year we were talking about circles. It was circle this, meet in a circle, have a circle. I didn't know what a circle was. But the kids walked in October, and it literally looked like they'd been hit by a bus. And I was like, what's going on? There was no learning that was going to happen that day. I knew that as an educator, I needed to give them an opportunity to grow and at least move past where they were. So here I am teaching a class that's got a finite deadline, and I stop class and we circle the desks and we're throwing around a wiffle ball from Matt and I's baseball, the wiffle ball machine that we've hit balls with in the classroom before. And it's this moment where I felt like I was growing as a teacher more than I had in the last 5 years. Because it wasn't about the Civil War and the Mexican Revolution. It was about us. And that lesson is a lesson that I've taken to this year. I joked with Galligan and Locke at the beginning of the year when we started our civics curriculum, and I said, we need a soft open. We need a soft open. We need to get to know who the kids are. And that has been an incredibly powerful experience. So you've got a nest. Don't be afraid to show. So every year, during the year, I feel like a first-year teacher. And I put up myself and Miss Ahmed, our first-year teacher in social studies. And Miss Andrew can attest that this year, maybe last week, we were talking, and it was Friday or Thursday, and we were like, man, I'm just tired. I feel like a first-year teacher. And I said, I feel that way every year. But we're different than a doctor. We're different than a lawyer. Standards change for us. Rules change. And our tool bag gets bigger, but we keep retooling because we're not there yet. I've learned some of my best lessons from colleagues and students. I could go on and on and on about colleagues that have impacted me, but I think that instead, I'll just keep giving you images of people who've impacted. If you didn't make it, this was cobbled together at the last minute, folks. So, I think that the best experience that I've had on a course team was 2 years ago. I was on a course team with Ms. Bay, Mr. Locke, Mr. Galligan, the Contemporary American History team. And we weren't tasked with civics is coming, this is going to be here, we've got to reinvent curriculum. And instead of just taking what and it wasn't required, it's a requirement starting this year. This is 2 years ago. Looking forward, we said, we need to make this good. It needs to happen. So the four of us really worked to make curriculum that students could connect with. Is it the best? No. We're redoing it again. Because we're not there yet. Galligan's not happy about it. But it was an experience that we got. We got in the car and we were working together. And it's the fact that we were working together that we were able to grow as educators. But perhaps the biggest influence on my mindset, and more influential than anyone else, is my wife, Eleanor. Miss Flanagan, sorry, teacher. Eleanor Ness, Flanagan Ness. Eleanor is the one I see when I wake up, when I go to school, when I leave school, when I go to bed. But she's also the one that I watch sitting at her computer, on the bed, on the couch, at the desk, and she's never done. And for me, it's inspiring. It's never good enough. We're never finished. Her car is always being refueled. You know, she's taking this class, she's doing this thing. It's inspiring to me to watch people like that. I'm lucky I live with that. But she's also the first one who says, well, why are you doing it that way? Why? If kids aren't getting it, what can we do differently? And for me, that's the question that I'm asking myself this year. If they're not getting it, what am I going to do? What are we going to do that's going to make it better? So I know it's been all over the place. And some, as I said, some of it worked, some of it didn't work. But really, it's about changing. It's about adapting. It's about making things better. It's about making ourselves better. Teaching is a together job at this point. We can't be as successful in a silo as we can as a unit. So the answer to the question at the start, are we there yet? No. And we might not get there. Because wherever there is going to change. We have different kids. We have different colleagues. But it's that whole journey, that whole process, that is what's powerful and what helps us grow. So, next time you get in the car and you look up the directions, just think, I'm not there. But I'll be there soon.